How you doing, my amazing animation students? So let's go ahead and start with lesson one. I know the other one we call lesson one. Occasionally, I was wrong. It's actually that was lesson 00, and this is now lesson one. All right. So we're going to kind of review what we've learned before as far as the tools, the toolbar, what everything is actually called. 00 is just kind of to get us into the program, to get us working on things without getting bogged down with all of the specifics. But now we're back. We're back, and we're going to talk about the actual specifics. So what I need you to do now, instead of having you write out the notes or type out the notes, I need you to go into your canvas, right, and going to Illustrator Lesson 1, Part A2, right? And so basically we're going to copy this Lesson 1 notes. Actually, this should be A1, right? Part A1. I'll change that so you'll see A1. So I need you to grab this, hit copy, or Command C, right? You guys should know this. We've been using Command C, Command V a lot, so you should really be used to this. Command C again, just to make sure. Open up a Google Doc, all right? You may have to do a couple of things to jump in here. Let's open up a blank Google Doc, and we're going to call this Google Doc Illustrator Lesson 01 dash notes. Again, that's Illustrator Lesson 1, and I'll put my little mouse over there. Illustrator Lesson 1 dash notes. So Illustrator Lesson 1 dash notes. And that's you'll just paste. And now you have notes, right? I want to make sure to make it easy for you. You have the copy of the notes. This is all you need. So this, because we're going to be studying this today, application bar, panels, the toolbar, document window, and the status bar. Now, this 6 weeks, I will be introducing you to more of a multiple choice kind of assessments and tests where you're actually going to have to click on the application bar, click on the panels, click on the toolbar. It's simple stuff, but you do have to know what you're talking about. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, basically it's going to be saved. And again, I'll bring these notes back and forth as we start working. All right. So let's go ahead and let's talk about Adobe Illustrator for a second. Right. So I've gotten this question a lot. Right. So Illustrator is different from Photoshop, and everybody's saying, well, what is the difference between Illustrator and Photoshop? And so here is the two examples here. Right? This is vector artwork, and it's basically we're working with shapes, we're working with things that look like a cartoon, but the reality is they are what we call vector artwork. And vector artwork, it means that we're dealing with mathematical points, but don't get bogged down on that. What you have to understand about vector artwork that's different from what we do in Photoshop is that vector artwork can stay sharp, can stay looking good no matter what size that you use it. And you're used to this. When you download a picture from Google, right? And sometimes you download it and it's pixelated because it's either too small or there's not enough resolution in it. And what happens there is that you're dealing with actual pixels. Here you're working with points, or what they call picas, right? I know it's kind of funny, but that's what it's called. So when you resize these, it just multiplies those little points. And so you still get the same image regardless of how big you make it or how small you make it. That's why they use Illustrator a lot, not only for animation where we want to get to 4K or high resolution, but we use vector artwork also because it's easy. We can make big print signs. We can have big billboards. We can put on 4K TVs, as well as we can make small note cards or small business cards, or even put these on a shirt. So that's why vector art looks good. When you put it on a shirt, it's sharp. And of course, it works really well. As you all have seen, when we print things out, the printer prints things out perfectly on Illustrator. You will not get the same effect with Photoshop. And here's why. So there you go. Here is what you're used to. When we open up a picture are made of all these little squares, these pixels in Photoshop. And Photoshop works with what's called bitmap images, and that's those little pictures or those little dots. That's how your iPhone takes pictures as well, by the way. The more resolution, the better the camera is. The more small pixels it has, the more detail and definition your pictures will have as well. You can zoom in better, they look sharper, all of those things. And that's another lesson right? But just understand that's the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator. You're working with vector art. That's important for assessments coming here and later on, but it's also really important when we import this into Animate during the second semester. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to open an Illustrator file and we're going to walk through this. So you stay with me. This is just a walkthrough lesson, right? So we're going to open up our Adobe Illustrator. Go ahead and do that now. I'm opening it with you, right? And I have dual monitors, so it's actually being made in a different window, but you'll start seeing this. So now we're back to what we've been working on, earlier. And this is exactly where we need to be. We're going to be walking through a couple of things. So let's go ahead and let's open up something first. So we've done new, but let's go ahead and go up here. We can go to File and Open, all right? But if we're not doing that, we can just go to Open here, right? So we hit Open. And a dialog box comes out. Now we all have this animation folder, right? Because this animation folder, we created it, during 2 weeks ago during that Wednesday. So Illustrator, Lessons. We've already done 0, which was the ice cream. Now we're going to lesson 1, right? And let's go to lesson Start 1 AI. So we'll double click that because we're going to be working in this little area here, all right? We're going to be working in this little area. So let's open this up. And then I'm going to adjust my window so you actually can take over the whole window so we can actually see everything. Right? So there we go. Illustrator. It's perfect. Right? And again, we want to make sure everything's setting defaults. So come up here to Window, hit Workspace, Essentials, and hit Reset Essentials. When we open a new project, we always do this. Workspace, Reset Essentials, because I want everything back where we start. There's one thing that people will get into, and some of my students always struggle with, is when we open a new project and you've made a lot of adjustments in the previous project and you don't know where to start. So Reset Essentials is the first thing we need to do here. All right. Next up, what we're going to do is now we're going to jump in and we're going to look at, it's going to basically be a t-shirt design. So this is actually a t-shirt design that we're working with, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to choose View, and then we're going to choose something that we call Fit Artboard in Window. Okay? We click that, and it centers it and it zooms it. At any time, if you're somewhere else or you don't see, I'm just doing this on purpose. If you don't see your artboard, all you have to do is, again, go to View and then go down to Fit Artboard in Window. It'll show up. There's a shortcut if you didn't see that, right? And that's Command 0. So anytime like you zoom in too much, right, and you're doing something else and I hit Command 0, it automatically takes me back, right? Or maybe we're too small or we can't find it. It's way out there. Command 0 will take us always back. This is going to help a lot of people. Hopefully in the classroom, everybody's going to be like, this is something I could use all the time, Mr. Juarez, during our last 2 projects, right? So if you ever wanted to get centered, don't worry about it because Command 0 will get you back where you want, all right? That's a helpful hit, right? Pro tip. All right, so let's talk about cloud documents. I have you saving things to your U drive, but new this year, this wasn't something last year, we could actually save to the cloud, right? So if you wanted to save, we can go here and we can go Save As, right? And Save As will take us here, but we could also go File, and then you see if it lets us do it from here, unless we've already, because we probably already saved it. Let me see. I believe that we have to reset it. Yes. All right. So we've already set it up so it can save on the hard drive, but just let you know that initially, if we wanted to save everything to the cloud, we could have done that, right? But we'll probably do that with Animate. We definitely won't do that with Illustrator because Illustrator is definitely a product that we want to keep working with within our U drive. And besides, you want to keep your work in U drive. Once the subscription runs out, and that's the big thing with Adobe Illustrator, once you leave BISD or you go to another class and we switch over, you'll lose the capability of logging into your cloud from Adobe. So that's why we keep it in our U drive. All right, so let's move on. Just know that it does save to the cloud. All right. I'm going here. All right, let's start working with and I'm going to bring back our notes. All right, this is our today's lesson is. So if we can really master this, we'll be good. We're gonna name the application bar, know where it's at, right? If you look at the definition across the top by default contains application controls, the workspace switcher, and so on, right? It has a search window. It's on the Windows. The main menu bar appears in line with the application bar as well. But there's a lot of stuff that we can do that, right? In the application bar, there we go. That's what I wanted. The application bar, I'm going to hide everything else, right? The application bar is this bar up here with the little house, right? The arrangement documents. Okay. If you go over here, it has your panels, right? So that's the application bar. When we're talking about the application bar, it's that up there. Okay. Now let's look at, and again, we'll talk more about the application bar when we get there. We didn't use it a lot during the first two lessons, but we will be using it a lot. We'll be using it in lessons that are to come. So again, panels. We know about panels. We've worked with a lot of these, right? It helps us monitor and modify our work, right? Certain panels are displayed by default in the panel dock on the right-hand side of the workspace, and you can display any panel by choosing it from the window menu. So panels, that's these over here on this side. I'll click, let me move this over here. All right. So panels are these over here. Properties, layers, and libraries. Those are three panels that we have here. But we have a lot more panels in Illustrator, and they lie right in the window main menu up here. Okay, I call it the master menus, because everything in Illustrator are contained up here. Okay, including the panels. So here we have all of these actions: align, appearance, artboards, asset support, asset export. I'm sorry, attributes, brushes, color guides, color themes. Excuse me. All of these are panels that when you click on them, like color, they come up. Okay. And that's important as we're looking at it, because also we can add them to the panels. So now we have extra panels, right? We can also pull them out and we can close them, right? Here's a color guide that we have that it added. But we got the three layers back to what we're used to: the layers, the properties, and the libraries panel. Okay, so these are the panels, and we'll talk more about those in a second, right? And of course, one of our favorite areas, right, is the toolbar, and we're all familiar with the toolbar, right? The toolbar is the left-hand side. Again, this is just review. This is where all our tools are, right? Where we get all our tools for editing and creating images, right? All our artwork and stuff. The document window, which is basically this area here, right, that contains our artboard. This is actually called the document window, the whole thing. Our artboard is the white part or the portion of the screen, and the entire section here is called the document window. All right, and then on the lower left-hand side down here, this bar here, this is actually where you can control zoom, right, to a 6,000 or 6,400% or 3.13%. Or if I hit Command 0, you get 99.19% because it's matching to what I have open. All right, so that's it basically tells you what, the navigation, where you're at in the section, if you have multiple panels, so on and so forth. But we'll get there. Or multiple artboards, I'm sorry. But we'll get there in a later lesson. So let's continue on our trick. Okay. So again, in our review, we're looking at this panels, and let's go over here to the toolbar for a second. All right. Again, one of the best shortcuts that you can learn is V. So we tap V right now. Notice that as soon as we tap V, the selection tool was highlighted. It turned dark, right? And so basically, that's basically the tool tip is what it's really called, right? The selection tool tip, and it will basically light up, right? It'll basically turn dark, or it's highlighted to a dark area, all right? So that's when you know you've selected it, all right? If we select the next tool, it gets highlighted. So obviously you've worked with these before, so you understand this. And those of you also understand that when you click a tool, it automatically changes all the way over here in properties. It changes what you see in properties. So if we click the rectangle tool, the properties just changed over here, right? If we select I'll hit V, right? The selection tool, the properties change. Understand that there's a relationship between the tools, the artboard, and the properties. So if you don't see certain things, it's because you didn't select it on the artboard, or you have the wrong tool. All right. So here's another thing. We've worked with this before, but as a refresher, when they have a little, and I'm going to click right next to it so that you can see, when they have the little triangle on the lower right-hand corner of the tool, that means that they have nested tools that are hidden. And nested tools, I want you to think of a nest, and that's what we're calling them in Illustrator. Nested tools is that you see a nest, and you know how it has eggs inside it. So you see the nest, but you have to actually look inside the nest to see what's inside it. That's the same thing with these tools. To look inside the nested tools, you need to click and hold the tool down to see what's there, right? And you can select it from any type. But you can also hold down Option, and you can click a tool, right? And it'll cycle through all the tools that it has back and forth if you hold down Option. Okay, that's actually a pro tip, right? So it's Option, but it's Alt in Windows. But you can actually hold down these Option, and it'll cycle through. But you can also hold it down. So if I hold down Option, I go down to the rectangle tool, it'll take me to the ellipse tool, right? The star tool, the line tool, back. It'll just cycle through all the nested tools, right? Again, and that's just holding down Option. All right. And Paintbrush has blob brush tool, the pencil tool. It has all these different tools with it. Okay. So you see this. All right. So I just, again, looking at that. All right. Now I'm going to show you something about floating the toolbar. So let's just say that you want your tools closer to your panels, right? Because you're tired of going this whole trick, clicking on here and then going all the way over here. You would rather have everything close. You can actually move the bar over to be right next to your properties. So when you click it, you can see the properties move. See, every time I'm clicking, you can see how the panel moves. Right now we have the characters. Okay, now we have the eraser. Now we have gradients. See how everything changes around here? We can actually see it. So instead of having two different areas, some people would like to have it all in one space. And this is very handy. The only reason why I kind of shy away from it is when I do something like this, because it sometimes covers it up. But if you want to use it this way, you can, right? With the tutorials, it probably is best for you to keep it in the essentials. That way you're following me at the same time. So you can put these back if you want, right? And again, you can make it you can make a square by clicking these little adjustments on the upper right-hand corner, right? And then you also make a mistake and you might click the X on the left-hand corner, boom, and it disappears. What do you do now? We should always know what we do, guys. And that is Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials. And that'll bring everything back to where it needs to be. Brings back our toolbar. Even if you put it over here and you want to put it back, the key thing is go Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials, and it puts it back where we started, right? You can't mess it up. Reset Essentials is like Save from Home, or like in Freeze Tag, where you would go home and whatever that was safe was safe. That's what Reset Essentials is. It takes you right back to where you started. All right. So that's kind of pulling our window apart, right? So let's find a little bit more tools, right? And you'll look at these three dots down here. And these little three dots are basically extra tools that we can use. And I'm going to click that for a second. And these are all of the tools that are in there, right? We have lots of different tools that we can use. Right now we have the default set. These are the ones that are basically used a lot, so they just put them on there as default. But if you want, and we'll do this right now. If we're going to, and you follow me, and let's just say we wanted to use the shaper tool. We just click this, and then we just drag it to the toolbar, and I want you to drop it anywhere. Boom. And then now we have that permanently, right? And all you have to do is press escape on the upper left-hand corner of your keyboard, escape, and there it is, right? It's permanently there. Now I'm going to choose V to take us back to the pointer tool, but you can see the shaper tool is always going to be there, right? Hopefully you have the shaper tool in there, right? So that's how we're going to be adding tools. And we'll be doing that quite often, back and forth, right? So those are the available tools over it. So let's open that again, right? And let's take that shaper tool out and let's just drop it anywhere. I'll drop it back there and it automatically populates back in the available tools. And I'll hit escape and we're done. That's a little practice. Again, we're just practicing here. This is something that you already know. I'm just showing you where everything's at so you won't get lost. Okay. So now let's continue this. All right. I want you to see this if we've selected the let's say we selected the selection tool, right? Let me go back real quick. All right. So anyway, we use the because we've already finished that. We use the escape tool. I'm moving a little fast past the tutorial that we have. All right. And so that's how we work with our tools. All right. I don't want to get too far ahead. Again, this is just review. We've done this. I've reviewed this, but now I'm getting, really methodical about it. Now that we've done it, we're going to review to get back into what we need to do. All right. So now we're going to be working with the properties panel, right? And so again, you understand that the properties panel, you can also pull these out and work with them how you want to work with them. Okay. Libraries, layers. If you want let's just say we have a lot of real estate here and I want the library, put these back, but I want the layers to be over here by my tools so I can see them all the time. You could do that as well. You can basically set it up that way. So again, you can customize this. I'm going to go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials, and that way I have the original layout. Okay. All right. So let's do something real quick. Let's go ahead and click the selection tool and click on the crescent moon, right? And we selected it, and you can tell because it has a selection dialog box, right? So now we're going to go over here to this opacity. We'll go to the opacity word and click right on the word opacity, right? And we can actually play with the slider here. And notice how the crescent moon here dims. Again, we've done a lot of this stuff. I showed you some advanced tracing before. And click opacity to kind of close that in. That's, again, when we work with certain objects, and that's what I want to show you here, is to affect an object, you must first select the object, right? And we can play with the palm tree the same way. So we can dim the opacity there too. Now we're left with the outline. So again, if something's not doing it, you have to also check your layers, make sure you're on the right layer. Then you have to make sure that you're checking opacity, right? Now, see, it's still selected, but you don't want to select it. We can go to select and then deselect, and everything will be deselected. Okay? So if you want to just get back to neutral, you can hit again, select and then deselect. I've already deselected it. All right, so let's go back to this, talk about the layers panel over here. All right, I've already shown you a few things with the layers panel, the layers panel is very powerful. And though everybody understands, at least you should understand by this point, that layers are built on top of each other. So whatever's at the bottom is going to be towards the back of the picture. Whatever's at the top is going to be towards the front of the picture. So if something looks like it's covering it up, just move these around. But understand, if you can't see something, these eyes can be poked out. So make sure you understand how that works. And of course, I already showed you how to lock layers, right? Again, this is review. Make sure that you've got this down, because now that you've went through it on your own, you can understand that, hey, I could have used some of this, Mr. Juarez, right? So we can actually undock these like I showed you. We can move these around. And again, if we click at the window menu right here, right, this is your layouts, right? So again, if we're moving these around and you want to get back to where we want to get to, we can just click this little box up in the right-hand corner and reset essentials, and boom, it gets us right back. Reset essentials, I can't stress that enough. That'll get us back to zero, get us back to where we need to be. All right. There we go. And so again, let's go back to window. Let's go to align. So window here and align, open up the align box. Just like everything else, we can actually add it to our panels. And if we want to, see if I can grab this and make it bigger. I can make it smaller, but there it is. And this is, now I have all of the layers in different, all of the panels in a different configuration, right? So now I can have layers here and it'll be out here, and I can make it a lot bigger. And I can stretch these out a little longer so they're not so squished, and I have all of these layers, all these panels all in one area, libraries, transform, so on and so forth. But again, this comes with experience. You working through the panels and aligning them and setting them up. The more you use Illustrator, the more comfortable you'll get, and the more you'll understand where you want the certain tools at certain spaces. Especially when you're working on your personal projects and when you're not following the tutorial, have a space for yourself. I'm going to show you that in a second. Okay, so let's just say that we want to basically create a set of let's just say we want to set a space for yourself. Okay, we want to make sure everybody's going to do this right now. So let's go ahead and go up here to this little window right here and reset essentials. All right, so it removes any additional panels that you've added and it sets everything, resets it. But let's say we want our own workspace. Let's just say when you're working on your stuff and you say, Mr. Juarez, I like having the tools next to my panels. That way, when I change a tool, I can see when the panel changes and I can see everything in one spot, which is really helpful when you're working on your own projects, right? And again, if you want to center everything here, you can go to view and then fit artboard and window, and it'll center everything again, right? So let's just say this is your layout. Okay, everybody should be here because we're about to do something, right? We're going to save this workspace. Let's say this is when we're working on projects, this is the way you want it to work. So you go to window, okay, workspace, right? And then you're going to call it a new workspace, right? New workspace. And that new workspace, I want you to basically call it your name. All right. Oh, I have a legal character. I can't put the dot. All right, so you can't put any punctuation. So mine is Mr. Juarez. Boom. So now this is a Mr. Juarez layout. Mr. Juarez's layout, that's what it is. I want all my tools here. So now if I reset essentials or take it to essentials, it takes it out. Well, I'm going to go back over here. Window, workspace, essentials, reset essentials. I reset essentials, it takes me back here. But if I want to go back to my original one, I go to Mr. Juarez and it shoots it back over here. So it changes everything where you want it. So now you should have your own personal layout, however you want to lay out. Now, if you want to adjust it, you can always override it. You can always delete it. You can do everything from here, all right? You can manage workspaces. Here's Mr. Juarez, and you can delete it. You can trash it, all right? Okay, yes. Okay, I don't want that Mr. Juarez. I want a different one. I want Mr. Juarez to have the tools here, and I want my layers over here, and I want, let me see, I want panels to have my colors, because I'm always working with my colors. I want my colors next to my brushes, so I'm going to put it in my panel, right? And I want, let's see, I want the gradient also, because the gradient is something really cool. I want to have the gradient out. I'm starting to add all these crazy stuff. You don't have to do this. This is just me kind of playing around. So this is now the Juarez layout, right? This is my layout now. I like it now. I'm going to go ahead and say new workspace, and I'm going to call this Mr. Juarez. Now that's my workspace. And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to see if Essentials works. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go back over here and go to Reset Essentials. And it takes me all the way back. And that's simple, right? And again, if I want Mr. Juarez, I just go to Mr. Juarez, right? Now I'm ready to work on a new project. Okay, and then Miss Essentials. Okay, perfect. All right, and that's today's lesson. I'm going to stop it here. All right, this is just a big review. Make sure that you understand, again, bringing back your notes, all right? What the application bar is, where it's at. It's the very top bar. It's the bar between the master menu, okay, and your document window, right? Your document window here, your panels over here, document window here, right? And then we have our toolbar over here, right? And our status bar down here. All right, that's it. Tomorrow we're going to finish this up. Actually, this lesson 1 is going really fast. Tomorrow we'll finish this up. We'll have a little quiz, and then we'll continue on to our next lesson, and then we'll have another project. All right, guys, you have a great day. This is Mr. Juarez saying over and out.